What is up? Welcome to Leading Life. Today we're going to talk about a mental trap that 90% of you, I guarantee, probably even most of you, are stuck in. Right, Brandon?
I've been there, man.
Alright, sounds good.
Welcome to Leading Life, the show all about living to the fullest and leading life on your terms.
You will learn tips, tools, and strategies for achieving total personal transformation.
I'm Bren.
And I'm Cam.
This is Leading Life.
Welcome to Leading Life. Welcome back. It's a Tuesday. We're having a good time. If you guys are tuning in right away, first of all, you're awesome. Second of all, if you guys can do us a favor and share it for us, we didn't get the chance to. We're busy thinking about the topic, setting up the stream. So if you guys can just click that share button before we begin diving into the topic. Brennan, how are you today?
Dude, I'm feeling great, man. Like just before we got on the podcast, I wrote I feel like 2,000 or 3,000 words down. I've been doing every time we do a podcast, I write a blog post. So I've been writing blog posts, and every time we do a podcast, I just getting the juices flowing. And we're also writing books right now. I've got so many books in the works. All this stuff's gonna be announced soon, so I'm super excited for you guys to find out about it. Yeah, that's what I've been up to, man. How you been?
All right, so Brennan's got juices flowing. Sounds like a good time. Me, I've just been reading this book, and this is what it's gonna be about today. Actually, this is totally backwards for you guys, probably. I'm sorry. But this is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I've been reading it a lot. I'm up to half the book almost. Today is my day 2 of meditating 2 hours a day, which was amazing. I'm really excited because it gets better every time. So I've only done it twice. So me saying that doesn't mean much. But meditating 2 hours a day so far is awesome. But yeah, I've been really good. I've been just reading this book, and I'm gonna talk about the subjects in this book and a mental trap that we are all in. Even I'm still in it. It's very, very tough to get out of. Only Buddhist monks can get out of this. And what we're gonna talk about today is the ego. Ego. Lego my Eggo or whatever, the waffle toaster waffles.
Yes, Cameron. Yes.
Anyway,
Cameron.
yeah, okay, sorry, I just tried making a reference. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the ego and how looking past the ego and becoming present and becoming yourself, essentially, you'll be able to experience a very crisp, vibrant, extremely vivid world. Because most of us, we're stuck in our head, right? Tony Robbins quote, you're stuck in your head, you're dead. So we're going to talk about not even getting out of your head, just realizing that what's going on in your head, that's not you. So Brennan, do you have first of all, I want to know what your opinion on the ego is, because I've read half a book on it, and I'm kind of curious as to I don't know if you've read on the subject or if what you already know about it. So what do you think?
Yeah, dude, here's the thing about the ego. I don't know. I haven't done the same kind of research you have. I haven't read the same kind of books you have on the ego. So I'm not sure exactly what direction we're taking with this podcast. This is your topic. I'm just taking your lead here, following your lead. But here's the thing, man. I know for a fact I used to have a very, large, arrogant ego. For example, we were in this band called Letterbomb, and all the time, all we ever heard was how great it was. You guys are so good. You guys are going so far. You guys are going to be amazing. This is so awesome. Never quit. Keep doing it, blah, blah, blah. And all that did for me was make me more and more, it's like confidence almost, but it was like an arrogant kind of ego confidence that didn't really get me too far. And I've heard a lot of talk about the ego. I've heard a lot of talk that, the ego is bad. You can't feed your ego. You got to kill your ego, get rid of it. Me personally, what I think is, obviously the ego is there for a reason. If you didn't have the ego, you would not survive. You just wouldn't live. And so that's why I think it's so important to, if you're going to be talking about the ego, realize that it's got its positive, it's got its negative. But we really have to find a way to balance that. But yeah, I'm curious to see what direction you're trying to go in here with the podcast, Cam.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I just found out that Elton John has a contest going on. Anyways, sorry, what were you saying, Brennan? I wasn't listening for the past 2 minutes.
Okay, Cameron. I basically said you. I bet you know more about the ego than I do. I'm not sure where you're going with this, but I'm down to listen, man. I'm excited for it because I personally think you need to have an ego. You need to have a strong ego. You need to have a good connection with your ego. Um, Not just kill it or suppress it or get rid of it. Because it could be very good and it could serve you, but it could also be very bad and it could make you miserable and it could also hurt the people around you if you're not careful. So that's kind of my, you know, opinion on it. Basically, I don't even know where you're going with this or what you're talking about. So this is
Okay. So you basically said what I thought you would, right? Like ego is like an arrogant thing, like me, I'm better than you. Something like that, right? It's like a I'm here, you're there. But we shouldn't get rid of the ego, right? Is what most people think. Most people think like, if I don't have an ego, then who am I? Like I'm not a person. I don't understand. Like I don't have like. Here's the thing, the ego is like, it's this thing in your brain that keeps your brain busy. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a collection of labels, opinions, judgments, complaints. All these things make up the ego. And basically what Eckhart talks about in his book is the ego is the conditioned consciousness. So conditioned from what people have told you, what language you speak, where you live, who you're around. That's how you act, you know? And basically the ego, fundamentally, it thrives off of separation. That's what it wants. It wants you to be different from everybody else. That's why so many people want to be unique. So many people want to be out of the box, different. So many people judge other people because they feel a sense of self. Like when I judge you, my flag has been dug even deeper into the ground. You know, like I'm here even more if you're wrong and I'm right, that kind of thing. And basically, the reason the ego wants to be there is because it wants like energy. It just wants energy, and thoughts being fed to the ego is just straight up energy. This might be confusing for you. Like, how confused are you, bro?
Keep going. Just keep going.
So basically what I'm saying is, when you learn to look past the ego, not past, but through the ego, like you see it for what it is and you can see past it. Basically, awareness and presence are the two things that are going to get you out of this trap. So I just want to talk about what this trap does to people and why this is called a trap in the first place, why this is a bad thing. And first of all, it thrives off of separation. So you'll never truly connect with somebody when your ego is taking place for who you are. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they feel like they're helping somebody by, you know, judging them or criticizing them or telling them what to do with their lives. But really, like, they're just solidifying their ego even more. So, I mean, it all starts when you learn what your name is. And you learn language and you start saying me and the word I, like I am this, me, this is for me, this is mine, this belongs to me, this is my room. And basically, that's where the ego is born. And then ever since then, like you look at things and you judge them. You're walking down the street, you see somebody and you automatically judge. And it's not you, it's your ego taking the place of you. And I want you to take a step back and realize that you're nothing but awareness. You're nothing but a person looking through human eyes and like controlling this brain. But this brain has sort of an autopilot, and that's basically what ego is. So ego also feeds off of negativity and complaints. So like when you feel uncomfortable or you feel like, oh, I can't be at peace until I go take a piss, then I'm good. Or I can't be at peace until I am off work and I'm at home in my bed with Netflix on TV. That's when I could be at peace. And like little complaints like that keep feeding the ego even more. And anytime you see your brain think for you, that's the ego straight up. And all I want you to do is think for yourself. I know a lot of people, and like I'm guilty of this. Brennan is absolutely guilty of this. My parents are guilty of this. And it's just judging other people and thinking them as wrong. Like you're doing the right thing with your life, they're doing the wrong thing with your life. You know, say you have you're living with somebody as an example, and this person is lazy, they're unemployed, they're doing nothing with their lives, and you're trying to build a business, and every single day you have to live with this person who's like here in life, and you're apparently here in life, and you do nothing but judge them, you do nothing but criticize them, and you're a loving person, you want to help, but think for yourself, let them live their own life. Because it's not really you're not trying to change anybody. It's your ego who wants to create that separation between you and your roommate. When in general, like, you're both the same person. Phil calls it, you're both wearing the Earth suit, just a different Earth suit. You know. So just realize that once you stop worrying about other people, you're one step closer to eradicating the ego. And that's what I want you to do. You want to eradicate the ego. You don't want, like, sure, a little sense of self is good, but you want a positive sense of being and awareness. You don't want a sense of me versus him, you know? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, here's kind of what I'm getting from this. As human beings, as we evolve, as we grow as human beings, we literally would not survive as a species if we did not have the ego. We just wouldn't, because the ego is what helps us say, you know, okay, I'm a human being and that's a tiger or a dinosaur or a monster or whatever trying to kill me. Do you know what I mean? And we are separate, and that person is trying to get me, and I need to be separate from that person, and I need to, you know what I mean? So like, it's basically like a survival technique. It keeps us alive. If we didn't have the ego, if we didn't have the sense of self and the sense of like, okay, I'm here and that's there and that's that, then we just plain wouldn't survive. We'd die in the wild, right? But where that kind of gets swayed, or where that kind of gets blurred, is when, you know, we use that as a way to judge others, right? Like, I fall into this all the time, and I think it's just I think a big part of it's just conditioning. You know what I mean? Like, we grew up in a society that is highly ego driven, and so as a result, most of us are highly ego driven, and that's just the way we are. And I mean, in different cultures, different societies, they have a completely different relationship with the ego. I know there's cultures like you mentioned, like monks and stuff, like they spend so much time meditating, they spend so much time with self, they spend so much time trying to eradicate that ego, that they have a whole different view on it. But us here, you know, we love the ego. You know what I mean? If we didn't have the ego, we wouldn't have all the amazing, crazy things we had. We probably wouldn't have social media. We wouldn't have like fashion. We probably wouldn't have all these, maybe we probably wouldn't even have sports. You know what I mean? Am I making sense here, Cam? Because I'm learning from you right now.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not totally educated on the ego the way you are. So you got me super intrigued, dude.
So here's the thing, man. You're talking about that's more of a basis survival mechanism in the brain. When you see a tiger, like amygdala goes to the brain, cortisol floods your body, adrenaline floods your body, and you run. Ego is more of a, I want my self-image to be perfect. I want to build on my self-image and make like this physical, materialistic self as apparent and appealing to everybody as possible. You know, and that's kind of where fashion comes from. You were right when you said that.
How is this a trap?
See, here's why it's a trap, man. We're stuck in our heads. Ego is nothing but your brain thinking for itself. When you want to be the one controlling it, it's like you're walking this dog and this dog is walking you. Have you ever done that? You walked like a freaking, what do you call those? Like one of those big golden retriever labs, and you're like 5'6", and you're just getting dragged around by this huge dog. That's what it's like when it comes to the ego. The ego makes decisions for us. They make friends for us. They tell us whether or not to get up and make that confident decision. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, they refrain from doing things because the ego tells them, like, oh, I shouldn't walk up to this person because, it would be embarrassing. Embarrassment is nothing but ego, straight up. Like, when you stop caring about your self-image, like, obviously, like, be clean and stuff, like, be composed and stuff like that, and respect others. But when you stop caring what other people project onto you, because at the end of the day, every single judgment that's ever made is ego driven. It like judgment doesn't exist when you're completely aware and you're completely present in the present moment, and you're just, you know what I mean? Like, because if I was to judge somebody, that's my ego. If they were to judge me, that's their ego. And here's another thing, Brennan. You said like Buddhist monks are meditating every day and they're trying to get rid of their ego or whatever. Here's the thing, there's no trying to get rid of ego. It happens right now. And like, I'll tell you, like, for maybe 40 minutes today, I didn't have an ego. I'm getting there. Like, it's not a perfect thing, but it happens now in the present moment. It doesn't happen tomorrow. You can't make, I'm going to have no ego next year. Like, that's not a thing. It happens right now. And you're not always going to have no ego right now, because obviously we're conditioned to judge people, and sometimes judging is fine. But when it comes from like a sense of self perspective, like Brennan,
Yeah.
I don't like your piercings. And look at my face. I have no piercings. That makes me better than you. I feel a little bit better about myself. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically the fundamentals of judgment right there. Is when you judge somebody, you enhance the vision of yourself in your own mind. When I'm watching America's Funniest Home Videos or whatever, if you guys even remember that show, you're watching it, you see all these stupid people make stupid mistakes, you laugh at them, you feel better about yourself. Little things like that. And the reason it's a trap, like I said, is because your brain is thinking for you. It's making decisions for you. Imagine the amount of leaps of faith you would have taken without the ego, or the amount of times you would have enjoyed. Like, have you ever I don't know, you guys work jobs, probably somebody works a job. Have you ever worked a job you hated? The ego loves complaining, it loves resenting, it loves just, it feeds off of negativity, right? The ego does not feed off of positivity at all. And when you learn to look past the ego and realize that it's not you who hates this job, you can find a way to enjoy this job if you're completely present and aware of who you are and what you're doing. So just imagine the amount of leaps of faith you would have taken without the ego blocking you and clouding your vision and giving you these thoughts like, oh, I'm not good enough, or they'll think I'm stupid, or, you know, everybody won't believe in me, or whatever. Like, and just imagine the amount of moments you would have enjoyed so much more. Have you ever gone on vacation and like didn't like it that much? Because like you could have went for a walk and just absolutely been present in the moment and just loved it. And that's basically what gets you out of the ego. Two things: presence and awareness. So
Yeah, buddy.
presence is obviously being in the present moment, not living tomorrow, not living yesterday, because none of those times exist. All right, like, sure, you lived yesterday, but when you lived yesterday, you were in the present moment. And like, that's what I've realized. 2 hours of meditation a day has given me the outlook on time. And like 2 hours of meditation, it feels like an eternity, and I love it. Like, I slow down time just because I'm stopping and I'm being completely present for 2 straight hours. It feels like 18 hours. So imagine you get an extra 18 hours every single day. That's what I want to give to you. That's why this is a mental trap, because our minds are thinking for us and we're not really in the present moment and enjoying. Like, that's why years go by. I've heard so many people in their 40s, 50s say, I don't know if you guys are in your 40s, 50s, but people have said to me, oh yeah, you know what? First thing you know, you have a dream. Second thing you know, you give it up. And then when you blink your eyes, you're 45 years old, sitting on the couch, you have 3 kids, and you're just playing video games, you're fat, you're miserable, and you have a job you hate. That's not what I want for you. That right there is nothing but your mind thinking for you. You have to be the one controlling this dog, not this dog dragging you around on its leash. You know what I mean? So that is my outlook on it. Brennan, you have any questions, bro?
Yeah, man. Like, you're basically saying the ego is a trap. It's not good. I mean, we should do whatever we possibly can to eradicate the ego and completely live in the present moment. Now, here's kind of where I'm, thinking is, my question, I suppose, is the ego serves us every day. It does serve us. It's got to serve us in one way or another. If it didn't serve us, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be where we are. But it also makes a lot of sense that, indulging in our ego brings us a lot of suffering, because it's, takes us away from the present moment. It takes us away from the feeling of connectedness with life. Do you know what I mean? Connected with nature, connected with ourselves, connected with the planet as a whole, and realizing we're all one. We're all really made up of the same stuff. We're all we're here on the same planet. We're kind of the same thing. And ego is kind of our way of separating ourselves from that. So how do we use everything we talked about right now? How do we use that to serve us on a daily basis? That's I think that's the main, the podcast is called Leading Life. We want people to walk away here with a strategy that they could use to lead their lives in whatever direction they want to lead their lives in: happiness, health, success, wealth, family, relationships, whatever it is, spirituality, right? How do we use this idea of ego to serve us on a daily basis?
Okay, so you become aware, very, very aware. So what you said is we need to nurture our ego. I completely disagree with that, to be completely honest. Ego shouldn't exist.
I didn't say that.
Ego should not exist, because it's nothing but your mind thinking for you. You should be calling the shots, because ego is fear, it's helplessness, it's embarrassment, it's all these negative feelings, but it loves it. You know why? Because it feels a sense of self. That's all it wants. All it wants is identity. Because when another thing is complaining, that's like the biggest thing is, oh man, I cannot believe Trump got elected. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's so dumb. Like, how stupid could Americans be? That's what most people in Canada say, right? By saying that, they get a sense of self, a sense of I'm right and they're wrong. When you complain about something, the presupposition is I am right. Otherwise, you wouldn't be complaining. Like, I'm not going to complain about, like, something that I know is wrong. Like, oh, this is delicious, but, like, I don't think it's delicious. It doesn't make any sense. Complaining is nothing but knowing you're right in your own mind, knowing you're right. And by knowing you're right, it makes somebody else wrong, and it makes you superior, you a little bit more separate from that person. So that's another thing. Complaining is a big, big thing, because realize, like, if you be completely present, completely aware in what you're doing right now, there won't be any complaints, there won't be any resentment, no embarrassment, because you'll realize that your sense of self doesn't really matter that much. Life isn't as serious as you think it is. So, what your question was? What again, Brennan?
You know what? Look, you know what I'm kind of getting from this? I'm kind of getting that the trap that 90% of us are stuck in is, you could call it ego. And I think another way for people who might be kind of confused by the way we're using the word ego, or the kind of the context we're putting around it, I'd say the trap that 90% of us are stuck in is we are not focused on the present moment. Rather, we're focused on our sense of selves. We're focused on what's happened in the past and how that defines us. We're focused on what's going to happen in the future, and it's making us feel anxious. And that's another thing. So I'd say the trap that we're stuck, that 90% of us are stuck in, and I'd argue it's probably even more than 90% of us. It's we fail to recognize this moment right here, the present moment. And because this is the present moment. This is where we find peace. Like tomorrow, I can't even tell you whether or not tomorrow's even going to happen. Like, with confidence, I cannot say I will wake up tomorrow. I don't know. I just don't know. Like, who knows?
You won't wake up tomorrow, Brennan. You're going to wake up now. You're always
exactly.
now.
I'm gonna wake up now. I cannot with confidence say what happened in the past. I don't know. Who cares? It's gone. It's done. It's gone in the past. Yesterday, I don't know nothing about it. And tomorrow, I don't know if I'm ever going to see it. And so many of us are caught up in these two, like we're caught up in, okay, what's going on in the past, or how did that define me? Or like, oh, man, that happened to me, and that happened to me, and that happened to me, and this happened, and that happened, and it totally sucks. And like, I'm sure it did suck. I'm sure it was terrible. But we have this present moment right here, right now. And you're not going to find peace in the past. You're not going to find joy in the future. You're going to find peace and joy in this moment right now. And that's the trap that so many of us get caught up in. And look, I get caught up in it too. I remember talking in a few episodes ago, we talked about putting you before success. And I mentioned how you got 24 hours in a day. Maybe, just maybe, you spend 1 hour thinking. spend 1 hour, think about the past, think about the future, think about the present, think about this, think about that. Spend 1 hour thinking maybe. And then the other 23 hours, you should be spent taking action. Obviously, you got to sleep. Maybe you got to sleep. I don't know. But you get where I'm coming from here, though. You need to have that time for yourself to think. I mean, I think thinking could be meditation, could be prayer, could be journaling, whatever it is for you. But you need to spend that time in the present moment. Like 23 hours of your day should be spent taking action in the present moment. Like, do you want to go for a walk? Okay, go for a walk and actually walk. Don't go for a walk and think about what you're going to do next week. Don't go for a walk and think about the sandwich you had yesterday. Go for a walk and think about the walk and enjoy the walk and feel the walk and be the walk and enjoy this present moment. Another thing I'm kind of getting from you here, Cam, is to not worry or focus or judge or bother about the other people around you, or the other things around you, and rather focus on your own experience and enjoying your own experience. Now, that's not to say that you can't, spend some time thinking about your brother. Like, Cameron, I think about you all the time. I love you, man. Even when you're not in the room, I think about you sometimes, because I love you. And I think about you, and we're business partners, and we play music together. We do all these things, right? But what I'm kind of getting at is, rather than spending all that time thinking about you or sending that, using you as an example, Cam, that time could be spent in the present moment, just enjoying yourself. That's kind of what I'm getting at here is the mental trap that 90% of us are stuck in is a lack of presence and a lack of awareness of this, the joy that you could find in the present moment. Like I find for myself, I get caught in this trap all the time. That's why the title is a mental trap that 90% of us get stuck in, not 90% of you guys getting stuck in this. No, like I do it too. Cam does it. I bet the author of that book that you're reading, I bet Eckhart Tolle, he experiences it as well, right? I don't think anybody's perfect in that area. And I don't know, out of personal experience, I don't know anybody who is in the present moment 100% of the time, always. But that's just my thoughts. That's kind of what I'm getting off this. But seriously, like, it's a topic that I'm interested in. You're definitely intriguing me to learn more about the ego and how I could use it to serve me, or how I could eradicate it, or how I could, I gotta learn more about it, man. You got me intrigued, dude.
The ego serves no one.
Cameron's like, no.
I think
Dude,
what
no.
you're confusing the ego with, like, useful thoughts, useful goal setting, useful stuff like that. What the ego is just everything that isn't useful. Any mental pattern that you can think of that isn't useful, it's coming from the ego 100%. And even by me saying this, I'm getting like an ego boost, because like I'm telling you knowledge. I am being the caregiver here. Like us coming to you with this information, you giving us comments, and you watching the show is boosting our egos. But as much as that is boosting my ego, I'm trying my best to not get so full of myself. Yeah, another thing is, like, when people tick you off, like, people don't tick you off, they tick your ego off. and it's not even them, it's their ego is ticking your ego off. If you were in a relationship, as an example, like, I'm not an expert on relationships, but I feel like this would be like the perfect situation, is if two people were both, and you can't eradicate the ego, you could just look through it. They were both looking through their ego, through it like a piece of glass. Usually the glass is covered with garbage, but they're seeing through it, and they're aware, and they're totally present. That would probably be the best relationship you could possibly imagine, because nobody's getting ticked off. Nobody's complaining. It's like pure love, pure awareness, pure presence, pure excitement, joy. I'll tell you this right now, if you've ever meditated, you've probably gotten the experience, like, where when you're completely out of thoughts, like you're not thinking about anything, you get like that excitement, that joy inside of you, almost like butterflies, feeling like you're about to go on a roller coaster, you're about to go to Disneyland. I don't know. That's how it feels when we escape our ego. Sorry, one second, I'm going to turn my mic down. I've been having mic issues, which is weird. But, so, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about. Presence and awareness. Try that. I'm going to keep reading this book, and we're going to talk more about it later on. We're going to keep destroying our egos. Not destroying them, but you know what I mean. It's called Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. It's not called Getting Rid of Your Ego. There's a reason why the book isn't called Get Rid of Your Ego Today. It's called awakening to your life purpose. Being awake, being aware, being completely present of what you want, truly deep down who you are, right? And everybody is a pure individual. We're just tainted. We're conditioned. Our consciousness has been conditioned. That's why he calls it the conditioned consciousness. A person grew up to be violent. A person grew up to be a douchebag. That's how it is. But you can strip that down and be pure and be like in the moment, present, happy, joyous, excited. Like those are the natural states of humanity. It's like happiness, laughing, like stuff like that. So that is what we're going to talk about. We might have another episode like this, and we're going to talk about the ego. When we do have that episode, ask all the questions you could possibly ask. Like, I wrote down here for those parents in the comments. I don't know if you guys have kids or anything, but he was talking about something very interesting, how parents want to control their child, not because they're evil, but because they love them so much, and because they feel like if their child is successful, their sense of self, like they're living their sense of self through their child. That's why you see so many people force their kids to go to college, no matter what the kid really wants to do with their life, no matter what the passion actually is in this little kid. You're going to make them go to college because I can't risk you screwing up. That'll make me look bad. Like, that's essentially what the ego of most parents are thinking. I'm not a parent.
Yeah,
I'm no expert. I'm just saying that's what Eckhart said in the book, and it blew my mind.
Even when the ego is coming from a place of love, which it is most of the time, it's coming from a place of love. It's trying to keep you safe. It's not trying to make you miserable, but even when it does that, it can make you miserable. So that's interesting, man. We'll have to wrap this up, but like, you confused the hell out of all of our listeners today, including myself. So we'll have to do this again, another episode on this, to answer all the questions you guys have, to clarify on this topic. I believe tomorrow on the show we have a guest, and she's going to be talking about brain health. So I'm super pumped about that. I love the brain. I love health. And I love this podcast. I love you guys. So boom, those are my last words. Peace.
Yeah, okay, so thank you guys for tuning in. Brandon, you could leave if you got to go to the gym. It's fine. But I seriously recommend you guys get this book. It's awesome. And I honestly, the most difficult book I've ever read in my life. Like, this guy, as an author, his information is so good, but it's so confusing. Like, it's like, this book, I swear to God, like, I started it 2 years ago. And that's how far I am. 2 years ago, I started this book. So, that's how you know it's full of knowledge. Like, every single page you're learning something new. I have to take notes like this, in the pages. Like, that's how I take notes. I'm just all over this book. So I highly recommend it. It's called A New Earth. A New Earth. You'll find it. Just look it up. A New Earth. It's a crazy famous book. Anyways, I'm going to roll the outro. We're going to say our last words. Okay, bro?
I thought I already did.
Okay, so now it's rolling. Yeah,
Boom.
Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate all the people in the comments. I hope I confused you, because our minds it's a confusing subject when at the back at like the back of our minds we're here, and then our ego's in front and it's thinking about things, and there's so many thoughts, and even by me saying this it might be coming from my ego. It's so confusing, but it's so interesting, and you learn so much through meditation. So 2 hours of meditation, highly recommend. Brennan, last words?
I don't know, dude. I'm just jamming to the outro.
Can you hear the outro?
No.
Okay.
I know what it sounds like. It's in my head. My ego's playing it for me.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.